Welcome to another episode of Your Voice Matters. Hello, everyone, and welcome. So it's Sunday afternoon, and it is hot in Central Florida. It goes back to say I was listening to the news this week, and they said it's the hottest it's ever been on record since 1960. It's like wow, it's like brutal out there. But anyway, welcome. I'm Viv Cunningham with Preferred Real Estate Brokers, selling the American Dream here in Central Florida. Happy Sunday to everyone. So today is a topic of my heart, and I have gone to Washington. I have gone to Tallahassee to lobby for this because as a realtor here in Central Florida, I am having a difficult time with almost every policy that is to close a loan. Whether it's in the new construction or good, and we don't have too much issue that, but the older houses, I am having so much difficulty. So I have two of my personal insurance person on here, which is Jamie and Lourdes, and I'm going to be having them talk and introduce themselves. But I'm so happy that they're here because we really need this topic. We really need this topic, and it's just like I said, it's dear to my heart. I have gone for years, for the last few years, I've gone tiredly to Washington and tiredly to Tallahassee. We have spoken to the governor, we have spoken to the president, we have spoken to every politician around. We have spoken to, and as a realtor, a lot of people don't understand and know what a realtor do, but we go out and we pay our money, and we pay it to the lobbyists in order for them to lobby for us for home ownership, whether it's clean water, making sure that we have insurance, making sure that our stopper certificate is okay. But, we do so much, but I am just so happy to carry on this conversation. And I have my dear friend Beverly on here. She's my buyer's agent. I'm going to have her introduce herself to you. Take it away, Beverly.
Hi, I'm Beverly, and as Viv said, I'm her buyer's agent. I'm just happy to be here with you ladies and one gentleman, and I'm sure I'm going to have questions about insurance because, as Vivian said, insurance is a big problem today. Even people with homeowners insurance having it for years, the insurance company just decide to drop them just like that, like a hot potato. So this is something that's also dear to my heart.
Okay, and then I have Lourdes. Lourdes is going to introduce herself, and then Jamie, you can take it away.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Lourdes Bautista. I'm an insurance agent in the state of Florida. I'm also licensed in different states around the country. But today we're going to be specifically addressing property and casualty insurance, which is homeowners insurance. And Jamie, please introduce yourself.
Hi guys, my name is Jamie Hoover. I am with Blanchard Insurance, and we provide the back-end support for Lourdes and her insurance referrals and help her through the PNC market as well as her clients. I've been in insurance for over 15 years and mortgages before that, so I've definitely been through the roller coasters of everything. And I'm excited to talk to you guys today about this problem. Really, it's just a huge issue, and I'm glad that we're bringing it to light to some people that may not understand really what's happening, in the insurance industry. So, thank you for having me.
Thank you. I am so honored. Last week we were supposed to do the show, but duty calls and I had to run out. But I am glad that you're able to come on this week. And I'm going to be gone again. Florida Realtors coming up, so we're going to be gone from Tuesday until Sunday. So it's going to be a long week for me. So I'm not going to do a show next week, but I'm just happy that you guys are here. So let's go ahead and kick it off. I'm going to be having. Let me see if I can find Lourdes slides and get that put up there. Okay, go for it, Lourdes. You got the floor.
Yes. Well, thank you for that, Viv. Thank you for having us once again. So we're talking about homeowners insurance, everybody, and we are really more focused on you guys, potential homeowners, how to get approved faster, because that seems to be one of the primary issues why when you're buying a home, not getting the insurance as quickly as you probably need it. So if you go to the next slide, with so first of all, a bit about the Florida insurance market. In the last in Florida, 12 at least 12 companies have stopped writing policies or gone insolvent since 2020, and six of those just in the last year. Florida is a highly litigious state. There's a high incidence of fraudulent claims, and so there's a lot of litigation. The insurance companies, of course, are very much aware of that. So that influences how they get you approved for home insurance. And so,
yeah, and
go ahead.
Lourdes, thank you for that, because this is really the biggest part of the issue. And this is not, Viv, like you said, you've been, in Tallahassee and lobbied for this, and the real estate agents have shown up in full force saying that this is a problem, for years. This goes back to 2019, 2020. Nobody did anything fast enough. So now we're feeling the repercussions of this with lawsuits, litigation. There's loopholes in the insurance policies that the lawyers have gotten, a hold of. Mm-hmm. And this goes to what Lourdes was saying about the high fraudulent claims, litigation. We all know about the roof claims and the roofers knocking on doors. Hey, you can get a free roof with insurance. It starts there. Mm-hmm. The loophole wasn't closed, and it has gone further than that. Now we're talking about different types of claims. We're talking about water claims, water damage, a pipe bust, the ice line on your refrigerator that is a $7 part and it leaks, and all the flooring in the kitchen, everything has to match through the whole house. They have all new bottom kitchen cabinets, now top cabinets. Now this $7, maintenance part on an ice maker has now cost $70,000 in the amount of an insurance claim. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're talking about, as in where the claims have gotten exorbitantly high. Things that are supposed to be home maintenance have turned into insurance claims. Back in the day, you didn't file an insurance claim on something that you knew was your responsibility to take care of.
Right.
Now, everything falls back on the insurance company. Insurance companies are set up for catastrophic losses, hurricanes, big, named storms, things that are $10, $20, $30,000 act of God, and higher. Claims. That's what insurance is set up for. It was not set up for the loopholes, the roofs, the 18, 19-year-old roofs that the homeowner should have replaced already on their own. There should have been depreciation involved on these policies. And in Florida, it wasn't set up like that. It's total replacement cost, bringing you back to whole, no matter how old something like that is. So when the real estate agents and the consumers are lobbying in Tallahassee to try to get something done with the insurance policies over the last few years, the insurance companies couldn't withstand in the meantime. So they have a certain amount of surplus that they have to stay in business, and catastrophic claims come from insurance on their insurance, the reinsurance. Their surplus that they have in the bank, the $50-60 million, only can pay for so many roofs and so many fraudulent claims. So where Lourdes mentioned the 12 insurance companies have, gone insolvent or left the state of Florida since 2020, and 6 of them in the last year, whereas independent agents, we have 30 companies to choose from, or that used to be the situation. We're probably down to 8 now. And where you mentioned in the beginning, new construction is great. Those are easy to get done. Older homes, maybe one of the 8 will take that, and that home has to be perfect.
And that right now, for me, that's driving me crazy. Okay.
It's hard.
Because right now I have Okay, so I have where, okay, they need your 4-point inspection, they need this, they need that. And then I even had a lady, that she, even though she bought cash, she ended up closing her house without insurance because they said that after having the policy for 2 weeks, you decide that because the junction box, the electrical box is not updated, you're not going to write her insurance. Go ahead and replace it. And then after that, do another 4-point inspection, which is $125. And then after that, then we'll bind you. It's like crazy.
Right. It is crazy. And that's where you're seeing a lot of pushback from on the real estate side. And you're going to hear this a lot at, the realtor convention coming up. You're seeing so much pushback from the insurance agents. And I had to apologize even to Lourdes a couple of weeks ago. She sent over a referral and I said, I hate to say no, but this is what they're going to have to do to get this. And they're 2 days from closing now because they've tried everything for the last 30 days and nobody's probably told them the God's honest truth about what they need to do. But we're not in the business to write a policy and, like you just said, cancel them 2 weeks later, just to get them closed and cancel them 2 weeks later. And this poor first-time home buyer buying this 1960s house is stuck with all of these repairs now that they can't afford to make. And I know as realtors, you're not in the business to do that either. No. You have you have ethics to withhold, and you're not going to put anybody in a house where 2 weeks later they have to replace a panel. Right. Or next year at their insurance renewal, they can't afford a roof. And now they have a $7,000 insurance premium because they have an old roof. I mean, they might have gotten through year one. So we do have to be brutally honest. And that really needs to come when you're in your insurance contingency period in the very beginning. Some of the conversations we have to have are at the end of the process when you guys are 2 days from closing. Right. And we need to be having these conversations when they're getting their home inspection in the beginning. Send us some information. If you don't have the 4-point right then, at least tell us, okay, this is the brand panel the inspection says. This is the year of the water heater. This is the year of the roof and AC. And let's at least get an idea of what you're going to have to negotiate, or if they can get out of the deal at that point. A lot of these problems are because everybody's scrambling at the last minute. And that was the conversation, me and Lourdes have been having the last couple of weeks of, this has to come to light in the first few days of the contract.
Yeah, but sometimes it's a little difficult to do that because so normally it's between 7 to 10 days I give for an inspection. So in the meantime, of course, in that meantime, the buyer is looking for insurance. But right now we're concentrating on inspection. So it's so many moving parts. And this poor buyer, first-time home buyer, is they're trying to get the loan approved. They're trying to get the escrow delivered. They're trying to set up a home inspection, So, just like you said, it all got to come together. And as for us as realtors to educate, our buyers, that's why I have a home buyers class that I teach once a month. So we're educating these buyers, of what to do, so they're not left, at the end, just like you said, can't get insurance.
And that's where we want to educate you now, even with these topics here, of things that you can look
Jamie,
for.
Just share the the next slide, because Jamie mentioned the inspection. Yes. So if you can.
Right. Yeah. Yes. So, and here are some things that, you guys can look for too up front in the red flags. So get the required inspections. If it's more than 20 years old, we need the 4-point and the wind mitigation. In the meantime, though, and those come from the home inspector. Obviously, you guys have your circle of referral partners. They don't have to pay for that right away with the home inspection, as long as you're all looking at some red flags, and you can call us with those. I have realtors calling and texting me from the house. Hey, I noticed this has a Federal Pacific panel. I mean, unfortunately, everybody has to put on everybody's hat, right? We'd love to stay in our own lane to an extent, but this has become dire straits, to get these people under contract. So we definitely have to work as a team. But on the situation of the red flags, I was going to say.
There's the next slide. Yes. So those are the red flags that Jamie's mentioned.
Right. Anything with the roof, if it's more than 14 years old, it should red flag. Now in Central Florida, Orange, Seminole County, it's 10 years in a lot of cases. Yes, you can do older roofs with the state insurance, Citizens Insurance. that's a whole topic for another show.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
can go on and on about.
I'd like for you to come back on again and talk about that. So yeah.
Right. It's not a great. It's a fallback option. It's supposed to be last resort. The premiums are starting to catch up a little bit with the other admitted companies, but it's state funded. It's like an insurance pool. Everybody's in one insurance pool. Basically, you can compare it to Medicaid, right? And they can be assessed up to 45% if there's a disaster and citizens cannot pay the claims. So there's a lot of moving parts with citizens. And we do look at the different options, but for admitted companies, that's what we're talking about right now. So we're looking at roofs that are 14 years or newer, 10 in some counties, and the permits are a big problem. And I know that you guys see that. And I'm sorry, but we are past the 04-05 hurricanes where contractors came in from out of state and did roofs with no permits. We're past those roofs. There's no reason that people need to not have a permit at this point. So if you don't see a permit on it, that's a big red flag.
Yeah, but before you move on to that, Viv, also, I mean, it's very important, the air conditioning unit, because people think that those things may last forever until they actually break down and they rush to replace it, which is just not the way it's supposed to be. The electrical panels, that's a big one too. And also, of course, the plumbing, because all of those things are meant to be replaced at some point. And if you're going to buy a house, and those are very, very crucial things that need to be looked into. And the inspection is going to bear out how good or bad the situation is.
Right. And with and you know, honestly, with the air conditioner systems, 20 years old in good working condition. And yes, rarely, you know, you do find them marked on the inspection, satisfactory and whatever. And that's not the make or break it with insurance, but it can surely add to it if you have issues with all of the rest of this. So that's why we're bringing that up. That's another, you don't want to put somebody, you don't either, and we don't want to insure it either. You don't want to put somebody in a house where their air could break next week, and now they have a $10,000 bill for a new AC system. So it's the same struggle, you know, on both sides, which is why, you know, it's great that everybody's trying to work together. The electrical panels, this is a great thing a realtor can kind of see when the inspector's there. Hey, what panel did this have? Is it any of these four? Because now we know we're going to have a problem. You know? So just a quick red flag.
Jamie, can you send me a list of those? Oh no, I think you did send it. You said Federal, Pacific, and Zenco, Sylvania. Okay, you did send me those different. Okay, I got those.
Yeah, and anything that you ever hear of any of this verbiage, double taps when there's empty sockets, those are cheap fixes. They have to be done before closing and the 4 points updated, you know, so things that you can catch, right? Double taps are when two wires are coming into the circuit together and like crossing. So the inspector will point that out. Empty sockets, aluminum wiring is a big problem still. So anytime you see aluminum, and what we didn't put on here that we can add is cloth wiring.
Yes, I was just going to ask you about that. I had that in my notes.
There is no market anymore for cloth wiring.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody has cloth wiring, that's an immediate, you know, you can tell. You can tell by opening the panel and if somebody's got cloth. I mean,
I have one house I'm working on right now. Citizens is going to insure them though with it.
Yeah, it's rough.
But that's, I've never heard of it until 2 weeks ago that there's such thing as cloth wire.
Yes, and you know, it's very flammable, and once again, you don't want to put, you know, you want to try to get these things resolved where this person doesn't even have to deal with that, you know, where they know in the next year that they need to replace that. And the same with these panels. They've had multiple claims and fire hazard claims, which is why they're ineligible for the insurance companies. And then with plumbing go ahead.
With the AC, I know they're giving grants now, because when I got my AC put in, I did get a grant. I did got like a rebate, but now they're giving grants for the AC. I think they're giving up to $8,000 or $9,000 for the AC for nice. Grant. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah.
Yes, and about
and you know, Oh, go ahead, Lourdes.
The plumbing, I just want to, for folks that are on, to clarify, because they may not be aware, but what is polybutylene plumbing? That's
Mm-hmm.
just a plastic resin, right?
Yeah,
That was
it's a
they're
plastic,
using anymore.
and it has some sort of fumes, or it disintegrates into some sort of fumes that break down the plumbing, and it's
Mhm.
gray. So you'll know by when you see gray coming off of the bottom of a sink or something, and it should say something on it. And that's how you know if it's polybutylene or not. And a lot of times these days, you won't see all polybutylene
Mhm.
plumbing. Normally, you'll just see like under a laundry room sink, or maybe over by the water heater, or under a bathroom. Like, it doesn't. That's another thing with the inspections too. When they say it has polybutylene plumbing, okay, is it just in one area, or is it the whole house? Because you can get it replaced under a sink, obviously pretty easy versus, something else. But the plumbing also has to do with companies. And like I said in the beginning, with the water damage claims and the amount of money that is being litigated on somebody's toilet line breaking or leaking. And then, all the flooring in the whole house has to be replaced because of this, or, whatever else is vanities and all that. The companies are looking for clean toilet lines, no green, no corrosion, the shutoff valves clean. I've had realtors go in with the CLR and wire brushes and clean things up and take new pictures. I mean, we're on the ground, everybody working towards trying to clean this stuff up to where it passes. Even Citizens is sticky about that. We have gotten policies returned from Citizens for corroded plumbing, rust, things like that. So when you have a buyer looking at a home, and you see green on the toilet lines, or rust, or the shutoff valves, plumber needs to get in there for a few $100 and get all of these things cleaned up, because it may not be replacing everything. It could just be some cleanup that's needed.
And this is new stuff to me, because that's why I'm glad I have you all on talking today, because those are things that I wouldn't even think of. But at least now my eyes are open to those things. So when I go in and I'm looking, and I'm just looking at the house itself before the buyer wastes their inspection money, because I'm just telling you, inspections are not cheap. Each inspection, if you're looking at 4-point, the wind mid and stuff like that, and well, septic, you're looking at $700 per inspection.
Right.
So,
yeah. And that's where a lot of times, even if you just get the home inspection and you're looking for these particular items before they pay the additional money for the 4-point, we can at least say, okay, call Lourdes and tell her, this is the type of panel, this is what the plumbing looks like, in this, and let's see what needs to be revised and cleaned up. And then when everything's cleaned up, you can get the 4-point. So as long as everybody's communicating, we don't want the full inspection as the insurance, but you can take some screenshots, and send them over and say, look, this is what everything looks like. The washer connections are a big deal right now. So where the washer and all the lines, and they need to be nice and steel braided, they need to be clean. The valves have to be cleaned up. And I know this is hard when you're showing a house that somebody's been living in, and they probably weren't taking care of all of this stuff, and they've had insurance for 20 years with no problem, right? We get that. But they need to understand that somebody might have to get in there and get some of these things resolved for insurance purposes. It's just not the same as what it used to be. So that's why this education comes in to play. And then with the plumbing, the PEX plumbing is a situation, and it's like a flexible plumbing. And after 2007, it opens up more options, but the PEX that was prior to 2007 is a problem. So, those are things to notice on the inspections too.
What kind of plumbing is it? It's
called PEX, PEX.
Okay.
And it's like a flexible PVC.
Okay.
And before 2007, it would dry out and crack. And that was the big problem with that. And then the newer PEX that's why a lot of times the agent will say, if it says PEX on the home and on the 4-point, we'll say, well, what year is the PEX? Is it after 2007 or is it before? So a good inspector will have differentiated that on the report. They'll put the year of the water heater they'll put the year of the plumbing. If it's PEX, they'll put the year of the PEX. So depending on what home inspector you use, we should get the accurate information on that stuff.
Yeah. Now, do you find that okay, just like you mentioned about someone living in the house, let's say for 10 years, 20 years, do you find that they had that insurance for that period of time? Do you find that it's easier for the buyer to go ahead and ask the seller who they're using, so you can just kind of do like a wash, move over?
You can. Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, they won't. I mean, what we're seeing lately is that insurance company, like State Farm, even for example, or Farmers Insurance, they're all pulled out of the state of Florida too.
Right.
So even if they had it for 10 years, the ability to write the new business you can't do it. So now what Beverly said in the beginning, if she has people who, this is not just a new purchase problem, right? We're all dealing with the increases on our insurance, and we're all dealing with the insurance company dropping us. Because people are more aware of that now, I don't feel like they're pushing back as hard like maybe 2 years ago. Well, I've had State Farm for 10 years and I haven't had a problem. I don't think we're hearing that anymore, because those people are getting dropped, policies are getting moved, and they have had to do things too to get new insurance. So hopefully that argument is done. But I think, like you said, it's just the communication in the beginning between the buyers and the seller's agent and the client. Like, look, we may have to get in there with a wire brush and clean up some stuff for insurance.
Yeah.
So that's typically what we're dealing with.
Get down and dirty and clean up. Right?
Yeah,
I have a good before and after picture I'll send you later. I had a realtor go in and I said, look, there's green all over the plumbing. Somebody's going to have to do something. And she went in with the stuff. And I was like, well, you got yourself a second job if you ever need one, because you did a really great job.
I owned a cleaning service for 35 years. So I know how to use that lime away and stuff like that to clean up stuff. So, but I didn't know that, that's why I said, I'm glad that you're on telling us that, to say that you need to get it cleaned up. So this is good. This is a good lesson.
We're seeing, and since we do work with Lourdes on the back end, we're seeing the cancellations and the things where we have a perfect file going in, and the insurance companies will kick back something totally ridiculous, like one little fitting that had some green corrosion on it, or I don't know, it could be anything. I can't think of it right now, but every day there's something. And so all of those are learning experiences that we try to take to the next, conversation.
Yeah, because I remember when my mom bought my house that she's living in now is a brand new house, and I remember the insurance. I forgot what it was. It was some ridiculous amount, like it was $250. And it's my brother said, "Is that possible?" Because he just came from New Jersey. Is that possible? But I said, with our senior citizen discount and stuff like that. But of course, now it jumps up. You're not getting it for $250 anymore, because he's saying $250 can't insure a house, but that's what it was, when she bought the house.
Well, with inflation, and that's another thing too. So the coverages, the dwelling coverage is higher at renewal. They recalculate all of that, and all of the coverages go up. So the inflation of cost to rebuild and everything else come into play. And so it is really important that whatever mortgage lender is involved in these processes, that they're not using $150 a month to pre-qualify people on insurance right now. That's not reality.
What's reality?
In Central Florida?
About $250.
Let me get my calculator. I was going to throw out $250. So that's a $3,000 premium a year. You could use that to start.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
It's not worst case. It's not worst case scenario.
Right.
It's better than 150.
Yeah. Right. So I can give when I teach a first time home buyers class, I can kind of give them a rough thing. Like I would say, the rough inspection for all the inspection might run you about $600. So I can say insurance might run you about $250, but that it's not cast in stone.
No. But I mean, $3,000 a year. I mean, 3 years ago, that was a $1,200 premium.
Yep.
That was $100 a month. And now at their renewal, they're probably looking at 300 to 350 a month plus the increase in their taxes, right? So I'm sure you go through all of that. But we get that call all the time. Oh, well, my mortgage went up $600 a month.
Yeah, not your mortgage.
It's not just the insurance; it's the taxes too, right?
And then we got so much equity in our home right now, and taxes is going to go up, because we got a lot of equity in our homes.
They get you on every side, and this insurance is, believe me, we have empathy. We get the senior citizens calls every day, and they're on Social Security, and the insurance went up, and there's literally nothing anybody can do. It is, dire straits for that.
Yeah, I feel sorry.
But doing some of these things do help. Even with them. And what I was going to say about the panels, Lourdes, too, was it's not as easy to get a panel replaced as what you think. It's not a next day thing.
Right.
They have to schedule with the power company.
Right.
They have to get the main power up.
Yes.
Right? So if we'll get it replaced tomorrow, that's not how it works.
Yeah, this lady here in Ocala that bought that house, she's got to get the power turned off. She got to get this done. And they said, once you get that done and all of that, then just get a new 4-point inspection, send it into us, and we're buying the insurance. But there's a lot that
it's a process. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. And you know what? That's what our pastor was talking about today in church. It's a process.
Well, and we used to be able to play the game. And I was talking to Lourdes about this a couple of weeks ago. We used to be able to play the game where the company would give us 30 days to get the stuff replaced. We get the stuff replaced, get the 4 points. So 30 days after close, we could put the policy in place, and we could play the time game with everything. It's not like that anymore. The state changed a guideline with the insurance companies where they have to get off the policy within 60 days if there's an underwriting issue, which means they need documents from us within 14 days to give them time to underwrite. The gap has gotten smaller. So everything has gotten faster. So now they require the documents beforehand because nobody's going to make the 14-day time period. The policy is going to get canceled. There's no backup plan. It just goes on and on. So if we all work together, we can get through these underwriting issues, ahead of time.
Which brings us to the wind mitigation. Very, very important, right, Jamie? So between
this is where you're going to get any and all credit.
Exactly.
Right? If we run an insurance quote with no wind mitigation credits, basically here's the floor. They get the Florida Building Code credit because the roof was replaced after 2002. That's a given with the permit, but the type of decking, the thickness of it, and the way it's attached. Now, a lot of older homes have those toenails for attachments. Literally, it's just nailed onto the truss with a couple nails, right? Then there's a clip, a hurricane clip. And then after that is a strap, which means that it straps around the truss and it has an extra nail. There are companies that change attachments from toenails to clips. I think the company is called Third Nail. There's also, if you can find a really great handyman, attics are hot in Florida. Nobody wants to do it. But from what I know, the Third Nail company will do it for about $1 a square foot. And they'll go up and then they'll turn if it qualifies with the type of original attachment it has, they'll put the extra nail in it to give the extra credits. We're talking about thousands of dollars sometimes.
Yes.
To change.
Yes.
Attachments.
I had the same lady had a quote of $7,000 to put the straps on.
And how much a year was she saving on that? Probably a couple $1,000s a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we can look at that too. So when they send that over, and then let's say a lot of older homes that are frame homes are going to probably have toenails. So we can say, hey, if they get clips, if you find a way for them to get clips, we can at least get them at renewal or whatever. This is what they would save. This is the difference between them having these two types of attachments. So a lot of people are getting the extra nail put in for the extra wind mitt credits. There's ways to try to figure this stuff out. They might not get it right away, but it's something that they can look at doing later on to keep their renewals down. But the wind mitt, if we run a quote without a wind mitigation form, we can guesstimate, but we're going to estimate the lowest, the toenails, the lowest credits because we don't have a form, right? So we're going to guesstimate the lowest. We can say with toenails, if you get a wind mitt and with toenails, it's this, and with clips, it's this. And if it has straps, then this is what it is, So we can give you an idea like that, but we've literally come down to having to find ways for people to save money with,
Now, all of this with people not getting insurance, a lot of people moving, some of the insurance company have bowed out of Florida. Would you say that is with your business? Is there a shift in your business? Are you guys more busier because there's not as many insurance companies?
We're busier. Yes, we're busier because people are shopping around,
Mm-hmm.
so they're desperate to try to find something else.
But it's harder to get
this
approved.
is not just it's harder to get approved, but it's harder to move the policy. So in one fashion, where we would normally be having to remarket every client at renewal, besides helping them adjust coverages and looking at things like this to help them keep their renewal down, they're not moving companies because there's no place to move to,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's no other option.
Right.
So we're having to just work within their policy that they have. I was working on one this morning, changing coverages, changing their dwelling, maybe increasing deductibles, looking at their auto, seeing if we can bundle it all together, looking at all of their insurance to try to find something. But this is not just a Florida problem. This is a national problem. I mean, there are companies nationally, from Colorado wildfires to floods in the Northeast. All of that has to do with insurance. I mean, with Florida, it's the litigation. It's not even the hurricanes. They want the money to come from hurricane damage because that comes from insurance that they prepay for. That is not their surplus. They want they love the hurricane claims because it's not coming out of their bank account.
Okay.
Their problem, the insurance company's problems, are all other claims.
Yeah, all the simple little things that, just like you said, when we start beginning, where people their toilet flood the bathroom and they call in for insurance instead of just go ahead and find a handyman and just get in it fixed.
Right, because when they set their insurance premium, they are pricing on what insurance costs on their insurance, right? And it's like 75 cents to the dollar right now. Money's not cheap. So by the time they pay that and they pay their underwriters and whoever else, I mean, I'm not saying insurance companies don't make money by any means, but I'm saying like it's a very small, it's a very narrow gap. So if the claim comes from a hurricane, that comes out of money that they prepaid for already. If it comes out of anything else, that 25% profit they have left is gone. I mean, and these are policies they've had for a year that they have a $20,000 claim on, right? So $30,000, $80,000, whatever. I mean, I saw something ridiculous the other day with a new purchase. The guy has a $90,000 mold claim within 14 days.
What?
That guy's been on the policy. He's had the insurance policy with a $3,000 premium for 14 days. Wow. And so that's the kind of stuff that they're going to say no to. He's going to get an attorney, right?
Right.
And this is gonna compile. Right. So it's stuff like that. And if they have a $50 million surplus and they have claims like that $50 million doesn't go very far. And that's why the companies are leaving. But it's nationally, like I said. So we're even having issues with auto insurance. This is not just home. So you're going to see auto insurance. You're going to see auto insurance increases because of litigation. The Morgan & Morgan billboards, whoever, right? Like all of they filed $100,000 claim, 100,000 claims in one day when the tort reform happened 2 months ago, and they were going to get a cap on their attorney fees. All of those litigation claims came in at one time.
Yep.
The insurance companies are now increasing premiums because they don't know what to expect.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not just home. It's a problem. And now Travelers Insurance has pretty much pulled out of Florida for new business. They've also pulled out nationwide. Safeco Insurance is declining nationwide. Nationwide Insurance, the actual company Nationwide Insurance, is not writing new business nationally. So a lot of companies have started.
So does that mean that these companies are just going to fold then if they pulled out nationally? Does that mean they're
trying to save themselves? So they're trying to stop new business, analyze the claims and the litigated claims that have come in, adjust their rates accordingly, and then come back in. So they don't want to be on the hook for, and you're going to not see that 12-month auto policy that you used to see. Like every once in a while, you might have a company that might write something for 12 months is now 6 months because they don't want to be on the hook for more than 6 months on something. So things are changing. We just have to look at your whole policy. So when we're looking at home, we're asking them about the auto too. We're trying to put everything together to get them as many discounts as possible.
So do you think bundling makes a difference?
Yes. And there's not there's very few true bundles in Florida.
Okay.
But sometimes we get a credit either way if it's with one insurance agency. So if we have your auto, let's say with Travelers, and we have your home with Frontline Insurance, if they're both with one agency, sometimes we can find a discount depending on the company, right? It's not your typical State Farm bundle because they don't offer it here because the companies don't want to be on the hook for a car in somebody's garage that the ceiling falls in on, and now they've got home and an auto claim together, right? So
right.
They have enough problems and they don't need that too.
Right.
So maybe now in the Northeast they do that because there's not as many loopholes in the policies, and typically I think people file claims for legitimate claims.
Can you talk about someone with prior claims, how difficult it is to get
that's the next slide, please.
We'll talk about that heavily towards the end when the slides are finished.
Okay.
And that is the insurance scoring. The insurance scoring and and this all kind of goes together actually, because I even was quoting something this morning. The guy had he owned multiple short-term rental properties throughout Kissimmee. He had 3 roof claims in the last 2 years. So he's done the whole hail damage, got a free roof on 3 properties. He's no longer eligible for insurance. He's got to keep what he has. And his renewal went from $5,500 to $11,000. Well,
wow.
You're going to pay for the roof yourself eventually, somehow or another. You're going to end up paying for that, right? So insurance score is not a credit check, but when we do it, we need their date of birth and their address they've lived at for the last 3 years. And then that will pull any claims on the home that they're purchasing, open or closed. And that's a really good time to see if there's a problem with an open claim, because a lot of times the claims aren't closed correctly. And if it's a company that's gone out of Florida business, it's a whole thing. So that could definitely slow something down. So it's good to find that out. And then also claims that they've ever had on something. If there's ever a fire or a liability claim, those are really hard to insure, if not impossible. Maybe citizens, once again, as a last resort. So things like that can come up.
What about water damage? How difficult that is?
It's very difficult. I don't know how else to say it. Companies don't want to
put on the slide. It's huge.
Yeah, we're gonna have at that point our 8 options we might have had just turned into 1, and that option excludes water coverage on the next policy. So they want to make sure that the problem was rectified. The problem is that we're not seeing $3,000 water claims or $80,000. So that's where the issue lies. So it's just going to diminish their options. It's a huge red flag. I mean, we can pretty much take our 8 options and take 7 of them off the plate right then. We're dealing with 1 that's probably going to be high, and it's going to exclude coverages. And that's not going to be the buyer's fault, right? That's something that the seller had, but it's a problem the house had. And the seller probably could have rectified it, but it became a big claim.
I do not understand how the insurance company would look at it as fraud, owing to the fact that they would come in and take pictures of everything. So how?
It's the contractor's markup on items. So like what we said in the beginning with like the toilet line and the water seeps out. Well, actually I have a good example from a couple weeks ago. Guy had a high value policy. He had all re-engineered, beautiful hardwood oak through every room in the house, bathrooms, kitchen, everything. The freezer line, the ice maker, leaked. He wasn't home. All through the kitchen, bottom kitchen cabinets that have to match the top now, and the rest of the house. Legitimately, maybe let's say it's $50,000. It's the contractor fraud. the 50 turns into 100, turns into 150. It doesn't stay an isolated number. It inflates as soon as they think insurance is paying for it. That's the problem. Now, I'm not saying they're all like that. They could very much be legitimate. Okay. People have legitimate problems. That guy legitimately could have $80,000 worth of damage because of his high value home. I get it. But then there's also double contractors that get involved. So they get an estimate from this, they get an estimate from this. All of a sudden, I don't know, somehow somebody's getting paid double. So that's where the litigation and the fraud comes in. If people just had legitimate claims and they just replaced the flooring in their kitchen and not their whole house and all their cabinets, we wouldn't be having this problem right now. But there's no cap on anything. And that's where, when the realtors go to the lobby and the lobbyists and everybody's in Tallahassee, closing the loophole on the policies will help that. Yeah. That's where you see a lot of policies now have $10,000 in water damage coverage. Good.
Yes.
Something happens, they're capped at 10 grand.
And I didn't realize it was so much hard work, when we go to Tallahassee, because for us to stop that door knocking stuff, I mean, I think it took us 3 years to stop that.
Yes. And it's a little, and it's great that it stopped, but look how late, look how much damage happened for, in that amount of time. But the water damage was bigger than the roofs. And that was because the policy language was written the way that it was, because who is in charge of approving policies in Tallahassee? Whose legislation? Attorneys. Who runs the state of Florida? Attorneys. And they get the big payday, right? So that's where the problem is. And until that is fixed, none of that's going to change.
So how difficult it is for one who had water damage to get new insurance if they want to change?
It's going to diminish their options. They can get insurance. It's just going to exclude coverage, probably for water on the next policy. I had a guy with 2 water claims that honestly I couldn't help. And then we do have surplus companies. And that's another thing I was going to mention, where normally within 24, 48 hours, we can get you an answer of some kind. We need a little time because this is really difficult to navigate. So we also have surplus companies, though, that they're not backed by the state of Florida, but they're like private funding, if you want to call it that, but for insurance. They take about 5 to 6 business days to get an answer. They're going to be higher premiums. A lot of times they're going to exclude all sorts of coverages, but we can get policy for the person to close. It's just not the best thing. And that particular guy I was talking about with the 2 water claims ended up somewhere like that with like a $12,000 premium.
Now, Jamie, how much claim on one house is allowed before they will not write you anymore?
Normally, they're looking for 1 act of God, and they don't want 2 other types of claims in the last 5 years. It used to be 3 years. Now it's 5 years. Even on auto, it used to be 3 years. It's 5 years on most companies, and one company just changed it to 7 for claims. At fault or not at fault, and comp, which is glass windshields. So everything is tightening up. And I feel like a Debbie Downer. I told Lourdes the other day, I hate to be like the Grinch, but this is
but I'm not one of them that claim everything on insurance. My kitchen floor right now is tiled, but before, my kitchen floor flooded twice, and I didn't call the insurance company. All I did was just replace it. Because you know what, I don't want the claim on my house, because one of the house I moved from, I realized that there was some kind of water damage from the bathtub into my closet, and I made a claim. And then when the person go insure it, they're saying that, oh yeah, you made a claim on your house, blah 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 blah. So now I know that it's not everything you claim for.
It just depends on the person doing it and what type of advantage they want to take, right? I mean, it's like with anything. And it's not good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, I'm surely I haven't had a claim for anything, but I'm not on a pedestal of any kind. Something could happen downstairs in my house right now. My laundry room's on the 2nd floor. I worry about it every day, right? I mean, I have a water sensor control thing on it. And I don't know, I could have some leak in my wall and mold and have to claim something tomorrow. So I'm surely not any different than anybody else. But you have to do it within reason, and people just see the opportunity to get more and to remodel their whole house, and that's what they do.
Well,
And that is just human nature sometimes, and that's what we're fighting against.
I had water damage. My whole house was flooded apart from 2 rooms.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And I had big problems with the insurance.
I'm sure.
They didn't want to pay. I had to get a public adjuster,
Right.
in order for
And
them
sometimes
to
you do. And
And they
sometimes
take
you do.
pictures, and this was legit. This happened in the night when I'm sleeping in my laundry room. The pipe in my laundry room broke.
Right.
And flooded the whole house.
And that is a legitimate claim, a legitimate situation.
Yeah.
And the ones we're talking about they're not legitimate situations. Now, but back to the water claim real quick though. Oh, go ahead, Beverly.
Why is it I have such big problems with them? Over a year. This happened from the 3rd of June. And I'm just getting some action now.
Because you're stuck in the middle of your one legitimate claim is stuck in the middle of hundreds non-legitimate claims. That's the problem. If they would stop the rest of the people taking advantage, the person that actually has the problem might get some attention. But you're stuck in the whole bowl of everybody filing.
Because they wouldn't listen.
When somebody does have a water claim,
they wouldn't listen to me at all. If I didn't get someone to speak up for me. They wouldn't listen.
That's a problem.
And they took pictures. I don't understand, but anyway.
Well, and this is another thing too with it when it comes to water. We all know, being in Florida, and you probably experienced this too, mold can set in really quickly.
Yes, that's what happened.
Right. Getting the floors dried out. So there are some steps, and we can, do a show on that, but, steps to take when you call a claim in and what you should do. But there are some things that you can take immediate action on before you even call the insurance company, so there are some like claims helpful hints. So Viv, we could probably do a show just about that in general. Because mold in Florida is a huge situation. Yeah. I wish that wasn't the situation for you, Beverly, but we see that also often because of, like I said, all the people taking advantage in the meantime. They're not taking yours seriously because you're lumped in with the rest of those people. So it takes
mold in my kitchen. They had to take out the kitchen. They had to take out the bathrooms. So it was bad.
And look how much damage water can do. And that's back to that slide on plumbing, water heaters, and corroded lines and everything else, all of the things that we can look for ahead of time. Toilet lines, you're not going to know your interior wall, issues, obviously, but that's how much damage. So let's say an insurance company was on that policy for 1 year or 14 days in this other case with this guy. Okay, so 1 year, you're talking about $100,000 worth of damage. Major, that's a major claim.
But funny, I had this insurance company for a long time until they went under. And it's just unfortunate that the company that took over from the one who went under, that they had they got the problem.
All right, that brings up a good point too, because Lourdes, you were worried about me not being able to take an hour to talk about this. I can take hours. So just stop me whenever. So I don't need any filler time. So just stop me whenever. When a company goes under, so United Property and Casualty is a good example. All right, they had
mine was St. John's. St. John's.
Yeah, okay. So United. United. What happens is claims get stuck in the state level. So if that company has a claim pending and they go insolvent, it gets stuck with the state. It doesn't go to the new company. So this is what happened in the United Property and Casualty situation. There is no way to get that claim moving. we were on hold for 5-6 hours sometimes to try to get some claims resolutions for people. When that company is gone, that company is gone. And your claim is stuck somewhere in the middle. So when your agent calls you, if you have an existing policy out there and your agent says, Farmers is a good example. Hey, Farmers Insurance is non-renewing me in February. They're pulling out of the state right now. And these people just want to stay with Farmers because they have a $1,200 premium. All right, not a good idea, because if you have a claim between now and February, you're not going to get that resolved fast enough. They're going to pull out of the state and you're going to be stuck. So you need to move your policy as soon as possible to an admitted company. That's one thing that we've seen with these, 12 companies that have gone out since 2020, the claims that get stuck in the middle. So as soon as you get a non-renewal or you find out that the insurance company that you have is pulling out of the state, no matter what the cost, you need to move that policy because you will not get your claim settled.
Luckily for me, it's after they went insolvent that the company another company voluntarily took it over.
That's good.
And then notify me.
Yeah, we've seen them get stuck. And then once it's at the state level or you're waiting for refunds from the state, I mean, good luck, that's just not going to happen. And that's a lot. When a company, cancels insurance or, leaves the state or whatever, that's when you have a big problem. But another good topic too for your first time home buyer, and you probably do this, is explaining to them how their mortgage escrow works with insurance and insurance renewals. Those are interesting calls we get every time. And if they're a first time home buyer, even existing people that, that have had mortgages, they don't understand how often their mortgage sells. Insurance policies can get double paid. Their payments go up. They don't understand it, or they lose insurance. They didn't pay attention. Their policy got canceled. They got forced place insurance. Those are all things that come up that we see in the home buying process year 2. So if you want to follow through with your client, years to come, you want to make sure that they don't have those issues and they understand that process too.
I'm getting a question, Jamie. I want you to talk about this. I know that Citizens, the regulations change. The Florida legislature, right? The big overhaul they did was late last year, and one of the things they talked about was flood insurance. Some of that changed a lot, and it's going to be required for those that have Citizen insurance. But some people seem to think that is for everybody. That's not.
No, it's only if you're in a flood zone.
Flood zone and Citizens is required for everybody. Right.
And obviously it would have been required if you had a mortgage, but these are people that don't have mortgages that are in a flood zone, that if they have Citizens insurance, they're going to be required to have flood insurance. Flood insurance is a whole other, topic. And I have a lot of flood claim experience through the last event that we had. So I'd be more than happy to talk about that.
Okay.
And why, the people that got claims paid faster than others and why. And even with auto insurance, a lot of cars flooded. They didn't have rental coverage. Well, because I had 2 cars. Well, both cars got flooded at the same time. Things like that. So just taking a look at your overall coverages when it comes to flood insurance on how it can affect everything, auto and home.
That's right.
Yeah, but that's what it is with Citizens. It's if they don't have a mortgage and they're in a flood zone, those are the ones that are probably concerned.
Yeah, this insurance thing is a beast.
Good information, though. Good information.
We can definitely pick apart some of the smaller subjects and revisit them. Solar panels is
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about solar panel. I just went.
That's a thorn in my side.
I went to show a house, and yesterday I showed the house yesterday. So we asked the guy how many years he has left on the solar panel, and he said he has 19 years left on the solar panel. Now, what's your thought on a solar panel?
Who's listening to this podcast? I'm just kidding.
Hopefully everybody in Florida.
People are going to be after me. Yeah, I hate solar panels.
Yeah,
when
me
it
too.
comes
Me
to
too.
yeah,
Tell us
when
more.
it
Tell
comes
us more.
to the when it comes to insurance, for sure.
Yeah.
And then the debt that it's leaving for the next person buying the house,
Mhm.
which is what you were just referring to. That's a separate note. They
Yeah.
have to qualify for that on their own. They're not,
Right.
I don't know. They're not assuming that per se. They have to still qualify to take
Right.
it on. And then when it comes to insurance, if they net meter, sell the power back, which why do you, unless it's just for your pool to heat your pool, why else would you have them? Right. So once they net meter, and there's different tiers, like tier 1, 2, 3 or something, which is the amount of power that they're selling back, the insurance companies, most of them won't insure them because of they say it's because of the fire hazard of, if there were a fire, they have to get the power company to shut the power off at the grid before the fire company can, do what they need to do. That's what I've heard. I don't know factually, honestly, really what it is, but that's makes sense to me. So out of our 8 options, once again, you're already down to a couple because of zip code and age of home and whatever other issues it has. Now we're looking for one that's going to allow net metered solar. Then we
Age
have
of
to
the
add
home or age of the
value.
roof?
The what? I didn't
Is
hear
it
you.
age of the home or age of the roof?
It's both.
Both.
It's both.
Okay.
It starts with the age of the home, and then you kind of do, let's narrow it down. Let's start with the zip code, the age of the home, the age of the roof. How else does it qualify? Now, does it have solar? Now we're really screwed. That's
Yeah, I can understand.
that's how the conversation in my head goes.
Oh,
And then I come home and tell my husband, I hate solar.
yeah.
It's ruined my whole day.
Yeah,
I can understand if it's a wood frame house, but
Yeah,
not
it's liability, and
concrete.
it's you're
steel.
attaching something to your roof, and the insurance company then has to be responsible for it to a certain fashion. You have to add the value of the panels onto the coverage, of the policy. So now if you have a $350,000 house and you have 27 panels on top, which was the one I had the other day, I had to, you have to add that into the value, and now they have to insure $400,000. Everything gets more expensive. So the one I had the other day, the lady had, it was a current company or customer of ours, and she had a unheard of $1,500 premium with a company. She was in Volusia County, which is a big difference from Central Florida, by the way, if you get over to Volusia with the price of things. So she's like, oh, they're putting in solar tomorrow. It's not metered. I need to move my policy. All right, here's a $4,500 quote from $1,500. And her husband was mad. You didn't check first. You didn't ask, how much is this going to cost? You're not going to get something for nothing. So yes, you're saving on your power bill. They're going to get you somewhere else.
But Jamie, you know what? These solar panel companies do not talk about this at all.
Oh gosh, no!
Because they want to sell it, so they don't.
Constantly knocking on your
know,
doors.
Why do you think he told her to call her insurance company the day they were installing?
Right.
Wow.
The day of installation. Oh wow!
They already signed the contract. The husband's mad, yelling in the background. I'm like, I can move you to Citizens. They're going to exclude they're going to include the solar, but they only have a max liability of $100,000. You have a screened-in pool. They don't offer wind coverage on your screened enclosure. There's other issues. Like their policy is very uninclusive, So now you've got, if they have, and then they open up a whole other can of worms. Now they have minimal liability. If they have to have a umbrella on their auto, they can't get it. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that comes up. So, but they didn't tell her to check with her insurance until the day they were installing. They want to sell the $50,000 panels.
Yes, they do. So you
thank God she had a newer roof, because if she would have had a 12-year-old roof, she's in a whole nother, situation, because who's going to take the panels off when she has to replace the roof?
Yeah.
The company says that they'll do it. They're going to be in business next year.
Oh yeah, and that's another big issue too with these companies. They appear out of nowhere, and then they're gone. In 5 years, they're gone. They disappear. The roof and the solar.
And believe me, this is my opinion. This is nothing, besides the insurance part of it and what we deal with on a daily basis and how hard it makes it to get insurance. It is not, I'm sure solar is great, just like electric cars and everything else. I'm sure it's great and you save money, but they're going to get you somewhere because that's just the way the world works.
So, Jamie, could you explain what's law and ordinance? I see something on my policy saying
ordinance and law is
law and order, law and order, something like that.
All right. So ordinance and law, or law and ordinance. However, I think it's ordinance and law is really the way it's supposed to read. Is extra money on your policy, bringing you up to, if you had a total loss and you needed to get back up to code. It helps you with the licensing fees, the permit fees, and getting your house up to code at that point. So if you needed to get the electrical up to code and the plumbing up to code, that's the extra money on top of your dwelling coverage to allow you to get back up to code. So if it's 25% and your dwelling coverage is $200,000, you're getting $45,000 more on top of the $200,000 to help you get back up to code. So it's most helpful in older homes, 15, 20 years plus.
What if you don't have that?
Then you don't get that money to get back up to code. You have to rebuild your home with that $200,000 up to code within that $200,000. So the ordinance and law is giving you the extra money to get up to code. It's extra dwelling coverage.
Okay.
Wow. Bev, you have any more questions?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
This was loaded. And Jamie and Lourdes, I want you guys to come back on and talk about some, where we're kind of right now. It was a broad general thing. I want you guys to come back on where we're breaking it down. Maybe we're talking about flood insurance. Maybe we're talking about mold. Break it down so we can, because just like I said, this thing here is a beast. And
it's a lot.
And people cannot afford it. Okay, no. People cannot. It's a shame that they let it get that far. By when February came, okay, yeah, we're gonna stop the door knocking thing, and all of these lawsuits came flooded in. Now we got.
It was already gone. It was already. It was long gone. Yeah, it was long gone, and and the problem is like at the state level like that. They want to stop. They change guidelines, and then the companies say, well, we're only going to take 2022 and newer homes now. We're not going to pull out of the state, but we're only going to take 2022 and newer homes because that's how they can still support the state and write business in Florida and not be one to pull out or stop writing business. So they play a game.
Yeah.
So all it is they tighten something up with legislation and the company plays a game, just like with the stopping at 60 days now, giving us 14 days to get documents in. It's a game. Yeah. They don't want the new business. They're making it as hard as possible to submit it, which is why we have to jump through all these hoops with you, the realtor, the buyer, the seller's agent, the client, the seller, to try to get insurance on these homes where it doesn't cancel. Not just get insurance so they can close. Get insurance to where it doesn't cancel is the thing. And that's what I told Lourdes, a couple weeks ago. I'm like, we can do it, but they're going to cancel next week. And where is that going to put them? So that's where we're at. But I'd love to break apart the flood, the claims, and all of that. So
so we'll work on that. We're coming up to an hour and 7 minutes. This was yes, and people are hanging on. People are listening in.
I can fill an hour, no problem.
But I'd like to be able to do this again, and we schedule it out and get some more deep into it, and some more deep into some of the different.
I'd love to do it after your convention when we can hear fresh off the press what the chatter is there.
All right.
So,
we
should do a follow-up.
Definitely. Yes, definitely. I'll do a follow-up on that. And then I'll send you out a day that I can I'll come on and then bring you guys back on. But I've learned so much. This has been so helpful to me, and getting a lot of my questions answered and things like that, and knowing why everything is just so difficult. in Florida.
Yeah, well, you guys go to Lourdes, and she'll come to me, and we'll all work together on it and
Okay.
and go that route. So
But
it's fun.
I appreciate appreciate everyone for joining. And Lourdes, do you have any things that we didn't talk about that we need to talk about?
No, I want to clarify just because I don't want to get a bunch of messages about this. So I said there are insurance and solar companies that come and go, but because that's a fact, there are honorable, legitimate companies out there doing the right thing.
Yes.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
Just be
Well, in general, to kind of, to clarify everything we said today, everything is not fraud.
Right.
And, there are legitimate situations like Beverly's situation.
Correct.
It's the people that are, doing the fraud that are ruining it for the rest of us.
That's it.
But yes, there are a lot of legitimate situations, so I don't want it to sound like that either. So.
But that's what created the problem.
Yes.
So
and beyond, and some people didn't understand that, and that was the roofers and the contractors too. So there are a lot of innocent people that got stuck in the game too.
Yeah. But I do appreciate you guys, and thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to you guys joining us on the next episode of Your Voice Matter, because let me tell you something, your voice do matter. And everything to do with real estate, anything to do all around it, I find people that are able to come on and talk. If you guys have any other topics that you want to come on and talk, or other vendors or other service provider that want to come on and speak, just send them my information so I can reach out to them, because our voice do matter. We have to make sure that people are learning, just like Lourdes and Jamie saying about, it's not all the claims are fraudulent. It's just the ones that creates the issue. And we have to make sure that people understand that, because a lot of people don't understand, like you said, what's going on. It's just like, before I get into the lobbyists, I didn't understand that. I have to get involved in order to protect our people, but that's what we do here. We educate the buyers and the sellers, because, people who are homeowners, they already going through all of that. I've heard so many different issues that insurance have gone from, $2,000 all the way up to $10,000. So, we have to speak out, and we have to let people know that's going on around in here in Central Florida, and get it corrected, so people can survive, because it's not like the Floridian makes a whole lot of money, so when their insurance goes from 2,000 or 3,000 up to 10,000, what are they going to do? They can't pay it. They're going to have to do without insurance, because they can't pay it.
Even people from out of state, when they call, they are shell shocked.
Yeah.
Shell shocked.
Yeah. So, all of us has to play our part and educate the public and get this worked out and get it worked on. I appreciate you ladies. I look forward to you guys coming on. I think this is actually my record longest show. I've gone to a little bit over an hour on some of the shows.
I'm sorry.
But that's okay. But because
don't be sorry.
so
It's
dear
good
into my heart, and we need to know about this, because everyone is hurting. Everyone is hurting.
Yes.
So we need to know about it. But just like I said, I want to bring you guys back on again, and
it's not like my insurance is any different than the rest of y'all's.
Exactly.
So we all have the same problem. We're not getting any special deal by any means.
We're all are affected by the same way.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Jamie, for coming on.
Thank you, Lourdes.
Really appreciate you.
Nice to meet you,
Jamie's
Beverly.
my mentor.
I'm speaking to you, ladies.
You know that. I
appreciate you guys. Yes, and I see you
Thank
guys
you
next
very
time. All right.
All right. Bye.
All right.
Thank you for listening. See you on the next episode of Your Voice Matters.
All right.